Hi.
Hi. How you been, man?
Great.
Good.
I want
Usually
to
you
talk.
say usually you say fucking great. What's
Yeah.
wrong?
I was trying to be, for once, somewhat. Uh,
Politic?
no,
Polite?
not that. No, not me. Never polite. I was trying to spare the audience
Yeah.
hearing me say the word fuck for the 120th time in one
Yeah.
small session.
Right. I was going to say 120 times you.
I'm fucking great, by the way.
That's what I wanted to hear, brother.
It's in the American Heritage, the label is intensifier. I'm really
Yes.
great. I'm so great. I'm fucking great. It has nothing to do with sex whatsoever. Nothing. It's just an intensifier. I'm so mad at you. I'm not, but I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I know this is going to be a little short one, so I want to talk about the positives. And I want to talk about the
Appositives. Appositive.
yeah, a positive.
Okay.
You'll spell it out, I'm sure, in the.
I will.
But it's about the dangers of positives. I'm going to give you a really great example. One of
Okay.
my students who went to Michigan Med School, he graduated and he was applying for residencies in pediatric oncology. Maybe I told you this story. I don't know.
You
I'll
did,
tell
but
it
that's
again.
okay. Tell it again.
And what he did was he used a positive. Well, I should tell you what an appositive is. An appositive is when you rename a subject almost always with commas. John is a good guy. John, comma, my former professor, comma, is a good guy. So you don't need it, but it helps the dumb reader. The dumb reader, by the way, is not a dumb reader. It's the person that needs to know certain background information.
The dumb reader can be a genius. The dumb reader can be brilliant. He just doesn't happen to know everything. His knowledge base does not overlap perfectly with yours. Yeah, got it.
Right.
Or her.
Yeah. So if I said to you, sesquipedalian words tend to obfuscate rather than elucidate, you wouldn't know what I was talking about.
I have no idea what you just said.
Okay, but then what I'd have to say, sesquipedalian, comma, long, big syllable words, comma, tend to obfuscate, comma, darken, comma, rather than elucidate, comma, enlighten or clarify. So, that's a stupid example, but you see what I mean. You have to think of what does your audience know. So anyway, here's a perfect example of the positives. A student who was graduating from Michigan Med School and applying for residencies, he came over to have me look at his personal statement. And it was just an unbelievable disaster because he wasn't thinking about the dumb reader. What he did was he took all these terms that were uncommon to me, the lay reader, but common to any oncologist, pediatric or otherwise, that would be looking at his personal statement, and he would say like, I can't even think of the terms, there were so many, but he would say like
Say use penicillin. So penicillin, and then he'd put a comma.
the penicillin,
an
comma,
antibiotic,
the drug
comma.
the drug that was discovered by Fleming or whoever it was.
It was Fleming. I think you're right.
In the building of the Panama Canal. But the point is, first of all, no one needs to have penicillin identified because everybody knows what penicillin is. And so all these technical terms, much more technical, by the way, than penicillin, were defined appositionally. And I said, you are talking down to your dumb reader, your audience, because these people are all MDs with, combined, they probably have 100 or 250 years of practical experience working in oncology. You don't need to define appositionally all of these terms because these people know these terms probably better than you do. So what you're doing, you're talking down to your audience, to your dumb reader, because there's no dumb reader. Now, if you were talking to my class, every one of these words would be appropriately defined appositionally because I wouldn't know, nor would my students who are 20, 21, 22 and hadn't gone to medical school or majored in biomedical engineering or what have you. They wouldn't know what those terms meant. So there's a danger with thinking not enough about your audience and your dumb reader because...
Well, and that cuts both ways. Oh, sorry, John, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, it seems to me you're very condescending if you think that your audience doesn't know some of the key terminology in their medical jargon or their engineering jargon or what kind of jargon they're talking about.
Right. Well, and as I was going to say, it cuts both ways. So I was a science writer, still am, and so I did a book about space. It's and
that was a good book.
There's
by the way.
all kinds of. Thank you.
From jars to Mars.
From jars to the stars. They didn't go to Mars. That's Elon Musk. But anyway, you're right. But the deal is like attitude, determination, and control system.
It was about the Ball Glass Jar Company.
Right, that happened to have a space business
in Muncie, Indiana.
Originally, yes, they're in Broomfield and in Boulder, Colorado now. Okay. But here's the deal.
So I read the book, and I want you to know if someone read that book.
I know you had one person. There we go. But attitude, determination, control system is not something. I didn't know what a reaction wheel was. These are basic space terms. But if somebody says attitude, determination, and control system, if you don't put an apposition in there for a general audience that says sort of the steering wheel of the spacecraft in layman's terms, depends on your audience. If I'm talking to, and I did give talks at Ball Aerospace to aerospace engineers, I did not appositionally define attitude, determination, and control system. In fact, I would probably say ADR, D, whatever the acronym for the thing is, right? So you have to know your audience, and that's another.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to define that acronym because they already know it's part of their working vocabulary, their jargon, their cant, whatever you want to call it.
Which they need because they're trying to get something done, and the faster you can communicate accurately, the better off you are. And
had you done that in that talk, you would have been condescending. You would have been talking down to your audience because there's no dumb readers that need these for that particular audience.
Or the audience would be like, why do you, yes. Or I would look like a fool because clearly I had misread the audience, and the audience would be like, this guy, he doesn't have it. You're right.
And of course, it always goes back again to the two things I constantly talk about, audience and purpose.
Yeah.
In this case, if you were defining these technological terms, these scientific terms, appositionally, you would have forgotten that your dumb reader doesn't need because there are no dumb readers in that particular audience.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Well,
I think it's fascinating.
Totally. Anything else on apposition, appositives, or appositional definition?
I think we've covered it. Just think of your audience. Think of your dumb reader. What does the dumb reader need to know? I hate it. So I read so many articles where they use these terms, and I have no idea what they're talking about because they're talking about scientific terms or legal terms, and I'm not familiar with that terminology because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a lawyer, and so therefore I'm left out. It's like the person's writing these are newspaper articles or magazine articles, and it's not a specific audience, it's a general audience, and these people forget that the dumb reader needs to be aware of what these terms are. But then of course you don't want to define penicillin because everybody knows about penicillin.
You need to strike a balance, and you got to know your audience. Doesn't matter who you're writing for, if you're writing for your boss or you're writing for the New York Times.
You got an A+ on this one.
Thank you. You too.
But let's close before I flunk you.
Damn straight. Adios.
Okay. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss.
Wir werden später sprechen. Ne? Tschüss.
Später sprechen wir. Tschüss.